Okay, we're going to get started here in the next 3-4 minutes. So take your time. You ready, Kevin?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming out today. Really appreciate seeing all the students here. Thank you for our staff and faculty who have come out to support as well. This is our first Souls alumni panels that we've hosted in a while. The idea of the event today, I was talking with Dean Swinberge before about this. We were discussing what is it that we think that UT Tyler Souls College of Business students need. And what we really wanted you guys to see is that there is a clear path of success from where you are in your seats right now to where you could be in your career, in your future, in the next 5 to 10 years. So that's the idea behind today's panel. Up behind me, I've got some awesome panelists who I'm going to introduce, or who I'm going to have introduced. But first, I really wanted to introduce you to our moderator for today's session. Some of y'all might have his classes. This is our department chair for the management and marketing team, Kevin James. Dr. Kevin James, appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for moderating today's session. Thank you to our panelists, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Does the microphone work? Yes, it does. All right. Success. That's great. Well, thank you all for coming. Welcome. And As Brian said, my name is Dr. Kevin James. I'm the Department Chair of Management and Marketing, and I teach a lot of marketing-related classes, right now mainly principals, but others. And we're very fortunate to have four fantastic panelists that were in your shoes not too long ago, which is what makes this type of panel really neat to see and hopefully eye-opening for you. So I'd like to start. We have Lisa New, who is a senior VP and senior financial advisor from Merrill Lynch with a BBA in finance, I believe. We have Casey Krucher, who is an associate agent at Rollo Insurance Group and has been there for about 5 years with a BBA in business administration. Let's see here. We have Ethan Borrow, who is an HR generalist for Jasper, been there for 6 years. And then finally, we have Kayla Bird down at the end there, who is a chief operating officer, been in this role for 3 years at Pentcom Inc. and has been at Pentcom for 5 years. Caleb has a BS in CIS and an MBA from West Texas A&M. So that's their general bios, but I'd like to kind of go down the row here and ask you all to give a little bit more in-depth introduction of yourselves.
Come on. Yes. Good morning. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I am Lisa New. I am a senior financial advisor at Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. I actually have started as a part-time person and worked my way up through the ranks to be partner of one of the top wealth management teams in the state of Texas. And I'm named as one of the top financial advisors under the age of 40 right now in the state of Texas. So I look forward to kind of sharing that journey with you, but I graduated here in 2011, met my husband here, and now we live in Bullard, Texas, and we have 2 little girls. So I am a working mama as well. So I look forward to sharing my success with you and answering any questions that you have.
Hey everyone, my name is Casey Crutcher. I am with Rollo Insurance in Palestine, Texas. And a lot like Lisa, I'm an associate agent with Rollo Insurance, but I guess for an easier term, it's more of like a managing partner. And just made that in January, so that's pretty exciting. I've been married for 11 years. I have 3 kids, 5, 2.5, and 6 months. So my life is extremely busy on top of work. And so, yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for listening to us.
Good morning. My name is Ethan Barrero. I am the HR generalist over at Jasper Ventures. We essentially build gas plants in a nutshell. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of it because it's way too complicated for my HR brain. But I graduated from the Souls College of Business with my bachelor's degree in human resources development in 2020. Fun fact, I did not walk, which is crazy, and I probably should at some point. And I've been at Jasper for the past 3 years. And I love this school. I love this college. And I think I could speak on the behalf of all panelists here. We're really excited to be here and to share what we have learned in our different industries and backgrounds to hopefully give you an edge and after you graduate. Thank you all.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Caleb, as you know. I work at Pentcom. I'm the chief operating officer there. And from our name, you probably don't know what we do, just like Jasper. We are in the tech data solutions world. And what that means, that's not any clearer for you, probably. But technical data with aircraft. All airplanes have flight manuals and maintenance manuals, all the engineering data that maintainers have to change the parts on the plane. They have to have very specific procedures to do that, obviously, because there's a lot of safety involved. But we work with the military, and we transform their data into more helpful formats. I've been the COO at Pentcom for the last couple of years, as Dr. Kevin James has said. My path took a little bit different turn of how I got to UT Tyler and graduated. From all the gray hair, I graduated in 2020. but I had a previous career and I decided to do a career pivot. So when I was 16, I started at a auto parts store called O'Reilly Auto Parts, O'Reilly's, and I worked my way up and worked there for a total of 16 years. And decided, okay, I want to do something different. I'd been there, since literally I was a kid. And in order to do a career pivot, I knew that I had some transferable skills to different industries like leadership and management. I was a district manager for them. And so there were some transferable skills, but I decided to come to UT Tyler and get those skills, learn those skills. And boy, did I. And in 2020, I graduated and I was able to work my way up pretty quickly because of those transferable skills and what I learned at UT Tyler into an executive position pretty quickly. So I'm very thankful to UT Tyler for the things that I learned here and the mentors and the professors and the leadership that they showed. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Now that we know a little bit about your background, at least up to now, and kind of for some of you how you emerged to UT Tyler, let's talk about from UT Tyler a little bit. So let's talk about your journey. So can each of you share what your path looked like from graduation to where you are now? And was it linear? Was it kind of straight line up? Or were there twists and turns?
Prior to graduation, I had a degree shift. I've always loved numbers and people, so I set out to be a math teacher and had a math degree going for me until Calculus 2 killed me. So I went to my advisor and I switched to a finance degree. So that was very unintentional of me. It just kind of fit the credits I already had, and I graduated with a finance degree. And someone that was in a student organization that I was in here on campus worked at a bank. She was a teller. They had a job. I got a job at the bank. It was unintentional in a way. Just, hey, I need to get a job. I've graduated. I need to start working somewhere. So what I'll tell you though is, though many of you, maybe all of you are in marketing or project manager, working in a bank was such a fantastic foundation for my career because you learn communication skills on the job. You learn how to talk to people, how to take care of people. You learn all kinds of things about business management in general. It's not just about money. And you deal with a lot of different types of customers. And so that gave me a really broad scope of kind of deciding what did I want to do with that. I really leaned into the investment side of banking and started studying to get my investment licenses while I was a banker. And one day driving home, I drove past this beautiful building that said Merrill Lynch Wealth Management on the side and thought, surely that must be a little more fancy than JP Morgan Chase Bank that I was working at. And I went online that night and saw that they had a job. I applied for it. I went, interviewed, got the job. And so I moved from banking into wealth management. And the hours were much, much better. So I liked that a lot. I started out in kind of an internship part-time role at Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. And a key to my success is that I never said two things. I never said no when someone asked me to do something or work on something. And I never said, I don't know how to do that. My answer was, okay. And can you help me figure out how to do this? Or can I learn how to do this? And those two things, simply showing up every day, obviously is important, but saying yes and never saying, I don't know, just taking an interest in learning, helped me work my way up the ladder pretty quickly. I also made my intentions known. Hey, I want to be successful. I want to be here a really long time. So at every single semi-annual performance review I had, whether I believed in myself or not, because I didn't think I'm ready for the next stage. No one really ever does. I said, yeah, I want to be in that role soon, ASAP. I want to be in that role next, even though internally I didn't think I was ready for that. And within 10 years, I worked my way up from an intern to 4 promotions to partner. So, yes, it was somewhat linear, but I took opportunities that were laid before me and, was able to climb my way up. I think being loyal to one firm also helped me move up the ladder a lot faster. I believe that there's some misconception that you need to switch jobs or switch industries and take something new just because it pays $10,000 more. But right now, employers really value loyalty. And I'm only 36 years old, but I can say that I've been at my firm for almost 14 years now, and my clients really appreciate that, you know. So that's been my journey.
Fantastic. That's very insightful. Thank you. Let's see here. Casey?
Yes. So my my journey, I guess, was a little bit different. I'm a generation graduate from college, and so my process was weird. I'll just say that because this was all new to me. I had no guidance, and so I really leaned on my professors. Actually, Dean Swinberger was somebody that I asked a lot of questions to. He was very patient with me. So lean on your resources. That's what they're there for. But as far as the journey from where I was to where I am now, it was a pretty quick journey. So a lot like Caleb, I had a career before I went back to school. So went to the working field right out of school, oil and gas industry, and worked my way up there pretty quickly. Felt like I had potential for the first time in my life, and I was making pretty decent money. But I hated my life. I hated my job. I didn't really like the people that I worked with, et cetera, et cetera. And so I thought there has to be something out there better, but I didn't believe, in myself enough to make that happen. And there's where my wife comes in. So it matters who you marry, by the way. That's very important. But she pushed me to be better. And fast forward to graduation. So I graduated. We walked the stage on Saturday, and I started my new job on Monday. And I was actually working at a bank. I was working at Bank in Palestine. And what I was going to do after graduation was I was going to go be a commercial lender. And the job was mine. I'd already applied for it. I was working in that position, getting ready for it. And about a month before graduation, I had a family member, a brother-in-law, that said, "Hey, you should try insurance." And I thought, absolutely not. Like that is that sounds awful. And so we talked a little bit more about it. He invited me over for dinner, and we talked about it. And I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it now because I'm never going to do this. Is my only opportunity, essentially. And so I changed a month before graduating. I decided, okay, I'm going to go work in insurance and try it out. And it was the best decision that I've ever made. Banking was amazing. And if anyone is going into banking, go for it 100%. But I just insurance, the way that it fits my life, it's perfect. So, yeah, so I pivoted into that. Went in, was working for Texas Farm Bureau. I started there in 2019, worked there for 2 years. COVID hit, and it was really strange because you go from meeting in-person business appointments, intentionally getting in front of these people to make a sale, and now you have to do everything virtually. And it's a tough world to live in whenever you're trying to sell virtually. So you have to adjust. So that was kind of another spaghetti noodle there. But I essentially worked my way into the position that I'm in now. Ethan will kind of tell you a little bit about that. But if you work really hard, people will notice your work ethic. Okay. So if you're really good at what you do, if you master your craft, people will notice. The right people will notice. And so I pivoted into my position now in 2021, and it was a 3-year road to partnership. I had to agree with their values. They had to agree with mine. That was kind of a testing period, and they put me through the fire. They refined me a pretty good bit, and here I am. As of January, I made managing partner, and happy as can be. Like Lisa was saying, you're never going to be prepared. Just jump into it, because now I've gone from the person that had the potential. I believed in myself. I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. And now I'm here as of January, and it has been a completely different learning experience for me. And so just jump in there, learn as you go. Do not be afraid to ask questions. That's going to be my number one thing I'll tell you. Ask as many questions as you can, because if someone gets annoyed at you for asking questions, then you're probably not at the right place anyways. So that would be my number one piece of advice.
Fantastic. I love the kind of commonalities and differences that are emerging here. Ethan?
Um, Sorry, I'm just listening to these two. It's so funny. Like I know Lisa from other like boards and you kind of know each other, but these guys I don't know. And just listening to their stories, I'm like, dang dog, I was going through that too. So there's a lot of commonality there. I think it's cool, even though we've never met before, that there's, yeah, what you said, commonality and thread there. Casey mentioned something that, you had been a first generation graduate. Same here. So I grew up in the Dallas area as a kid, and stuck to community college for 2 years. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Finished my basics, and I was like, I want to go to HR. I love people. I think I want to stay in business, but I really want to see people thrive and grow. And when you think of HR, you probably don't think of that. You probably think of, don't do that thing, and I'm going to write you up and/or termination, right? And there is definitely a level of that, no doubt. But I think it's also about building people up and making sure that they're in the right place. We want the right people in the right seats at the right time. Um, Anyways, I was looking for HR programs. I'm just going to be very, very blunt. I was looking for a college that wasn't very expensive for me. So some of the HR degrees I was looking at, I was like, gosh, that's like crazy insane. But I came across UT Tyler, and not only was it very inexpensive, but the level of care that I saw from the staff and the faculty, that I could just step in the room and be one of 20 to 25 students instead of 100, right? Filling this whole room up. Staff couldn't know me. And so came here and I got a job as a dishwasher at Mercy Ships because I couldn't get a job here. It was crazy. And so Mercy Ships is a nonprofit organization here in East Texas. And so I worked there for about 5 years. I was working there full time while I was getting my degree. If you're doing that, you are insane like I am. But props to you, because I am telling you, if you're working while you're getting your degree, there's going to be some dots that are going to be connecting after you graduate. You're going to be like, man, I'm so glad. This is going to sound so dumb. I'm so glad I was cleaning toilets. I'm so glad I was doing dishes. I was so glad I was talking to people, having hard conversations, to doing menial tasks, to the very complex things. Props to you if you're doing that. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth in between advice and telling you my story, so just get used to that. And so I graduated from UT Tyler in 2020. They sent us home in March, obviously because of COVID, and I didn't walk the stage. I'm still mad about it, but I'm going to do it one day. And I got my degree. I'm still at Mercy Ships. I started recruiting for them, and which is so funny because I was literally, you know, 2 years before that I was washing dishes, and they believed in me enough that they were like, "Hey, here's some different responsibilities. Hey, to the point of like, we want you to go travel to these universities and tell people about who we are." And I would have never expected that. There are some things you're going to be doing. You're like, man, this feels pointless. I'm literally washing dishes. This is so stupid. But I'm telling you, when you put the work and effort in and people see you for what you are and what you bring to the table, that's a whole different ball game. And I would tell you to work hard and do a good work. It doesn't matter if you're washing dishes or like filling out an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't matter. Do a good work. And now I'm working for Jasper as an HR journalist and been there for the past 3 years. So it's been a really, really fun gig, really challenging. I'm always on my toes. And I think the biggest thing, I already touched on it, but is to work hard, man. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Just do good work because people see you. Even if it's just you there, people are watching.
Ethan, maybe you were washing dishes. I was passing out Cheddar Bay biscuits at the Red Lobster during college. So,
Oh, that's awesome to hear. So when I was in high school, if I wanted a car or a vehicle, I was going to have to get a job. So, and all my brothers and sisters, that was the path. I was the baby of the family. So I went looking for a job because I wanted a car. I wanted some freedom. So I knew a guy who worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts in Jacksonville, and I went to him and asked him for a job, and I got the job, and I worked the front counter, and I didn't know anything about auto parts at that time, but I learned. And something that became clear, because that was my first like real job. I had other jobs, you know, like summer jobs and stuff, but that was kind of my first real job. And I remember just thinking like, you know, recognizing what a job is, how can I excel at a job, how can I do better at this job, and it became clear to me that the more I know about the job and the industry, the better I can be, and the more I can, you know, move up. Because at O'Reilly's, they preached a lot of, hey, there's a path to success with us, with our company, and here's kind of here's that path. So I was, you know, from 16 to 18, I was in high school, so I'd go work part time after school, close the store down. And then I really started becoming interested in a career, and I thought about college. And actually, when I was 16, I thought, you know, I'm definitely going to go to college when I graduate. But at O'Reilly's, I started experiencing a lot of growth there because they rewarded hard work, dedication, and innovate or taking initiative to do good things and to learn. And so I moved up rather quickly. When I turned 18, they promoted me to night manager because you had to be 18 years old. You couldn't have keys to the store and access to the money unless you were 18. And then when I was 19, they promoted me to assistant manager. And then when I was 20, they promoted me to store manager. And I remember printing off the store operations manual and taking it home and reading it. I remember there was VHSs back then. They had VHS training tapes. I would take those home, and I had my own VCR, and I would watch those at night. So I was voracious in consuming the knowledge about the industry in which I was in. And you'll see this is connected to my current position. And anyway, because of that, I experienced a lot of growth really quickly. And then I moved to Houston to support my wife in some school. She's an optometrist. And while I was down there, I got promoted to a district manager, managing 12 stores, 200 employees, $25 million a year in annual revenue. So it was a big position. And I got promoted at 24. I was one of the youngest person in O'Reilly's to become a district manager. And I attribute that to this voracious appetite for knowledge and learning. And now I had some good mentors too that taught leadership, management skills, all these things that made me successful in that position. And then I got to a point where I was a little burned out. I got a little burned out. I'd been doing this since I was 16, and I'm like, you know, I want to make this career pivot. I've been in this a long time. But obviously, when you've invested that much time in one career, you get a little nervous. And so, you know, at this time, we had moved back to East Texas. My wife had a good career. I had a support structure that would allow me to go back to college. So I'm like, you know, or to go to college. I never went to college. So I decided, you know what, if I'm going to switch careers, if I'm going to do this hard career pivot, I'm going to have to upskill. Now, there's obviously some transferable skills that I learned at my time with O'Reilly's for sure. But I knew that, you know, I needed to pick an industry, and I'm going to have to do this career pivot and upskill. So I decided, okay, I want to go into technology, but I also want to leverage my background in business management and leadership. And I thought the computer information systems degree plan fit that perfectly because it's kind of like a half business degree and a half computer science degree. That's how those credits are split out. So that's what I did. I did some basics at another college. I came to UT Tyler. And learned a lot of skills. And something that I'm very thankful for is that I learned how to learn at UT Tyler. That's something that we might not think about is, you know, you're taking a lot of courses that are really introductory courses. When you take intro to marketing, you're not an expert when you get done, even if you make an A in the class, right? So you're taking a lot of intro courses, but what those courses do teach you is how to learn more. And they teach you foundational concepts where you might not know the answer, but you know kind of the pillar to go research, you know, the direction to go research. And anyway, after I graduated in 2020, I was looking for jobs, and it was COVID. I didn't walk either, by the way. So maybe we need to walk together. Yeah, maybe we can walk together. So I graduated in 2020, and I started looking for jobs. And I was looking through in COVID, right? It was the job market sucked because everything was shut down. And that produced some anxiety. I'm like, oh God, I've spent all this I've spent all this opportunity cost, right? Because I've just been to college for 3 years, And now the job market is very lackluster. What am I going to do? So I started looking for jobs. And I looked at all mediums. I looked, online, Indeed, in person, and I even looked at a newspaper. And that's how I got this job. Go figure. So I read an article about in the Palestine Telegraph, I believe it is, and I read about this company that they had a write up about them called Pinacom, and it was celebrating some success. They'd got a big contract with the DoD, and it's just a little featured article about this company in Palestine and kind of what they did, and I had no idea that this industry, technical publications in the aerospace industry, even existed. Had no clue what it was. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to reach out and see if they've got any work, any positions available. So I reached out. I called their office, and the IT manager answered and said, and he answered, and I said, hey, I was just curious, do y'all have any job openings? Are y'all doing anything right now? He said, well, actually the office shut down. Everybody's working from home because of COVID, but there could be some job openings if you want to, email this email address. So I wrote up this methodical email. And I actually researched the website and the tech pubs industry before I wrote this email, because I needed to know, what is this industry about that I'm fixing to apply? So I was very intentional about trying to learn about as much as I could. And I did, and I learned about it, and I used some key terms and tried to understand it. I sent the email. The email actually I sent it to the wrong email. I was supposed to send it to HR@Pinacom.com, and I actually sent it to info@Pinacom.com, which ironically went to the CEO. And she saw my resume, she saw my email, and was like, hey, this is great. We're looking for good people. So she called me, we set up an interview, we click. She saw that I've got these transferable skills from a previous industry of management and leadership, and then I've just got my degree in computer information systems, and it worked out really great. So 3 weeks after graduation, I got hired on as a programming analyst for this company. And what I did was we take this legacy format of data and we transform it into something else, and we do that using computer code and automation. So that's what I did for the first 8 months. Then it became pretty clear that I had a lot of skills that I wasn't using in management and leadership. And so they promoted me to the manager of the software team. So I was over all the software developers. We managed the project, the schedules, the different priorities, refining requirements for our customers and our projects. And then I was in that position for a little under 2 years, and they promoted me to COO. But what I want to say here is that I had no idea what technical pubs was. I came from auto parts, okay? But that voracious appetite for knowledge in the industry that you're working in, that's a testament that if you're willing to dig in, learn the industry, you can get promoted and grow rather quickly. Companies honor that. Companies see that, and they're going to promote you based on that. So if I can go from auto parts to engineering data on military aircraft like the B-1 bomber, the B-52 bomber, then you can do that in your industries too. If you focus on learning your industry, and that's if you're at the very bottom. It doesn't matter if you start as an intern. Learn all you can about the industry. And I loved what Lisa said, because this was a piece of advice I wrote down, is don't say you don't know. That is such a huge red flag for employers. It signals some deep things. Let me tell you, with all the data that we have on the internet, just the petabytes of data, YouTube videos, Coursera, all these learning platforms, you can learn almost anything. You got ChatGPT. You can almost learn anything. So don't use that as an excuse. You've got to dig in and just and learn what your employer's asking. That doesn't mean you have to fake it and say, oh yeah, I know how to do this, and not deliver. That's not what I'm saying. You need to admit where you're at, but you need to be willing to learn and signal that to your employer, especially when you're starting out in a new career. Don't say no. You say yes, I'll figure it out. And if I have questions, I'll come get you. But I'm excited to learn about this new opportunity. So that's kind of how my journey is now I'm COO of where we've got about 100 employees spread across the United States. We're probably about 3/4 remote, but we do have a headquarters in Palestine where we do have some people that work there in a secure site facility because we deal with a lot of government data and stuff. But that was the path, and it certainly wasn't linear at all. But you know, if you ever need to do career pivot, there's a successful example.
Fantastic. Love hearing all of these stories and kind of seeing how you got to where you are right now. Shifting a little bit over to values and priorities, things that kind of lead or things that are always on your mind when you're making decisions. So, in the early years of your career, what personal or professional values have guided your decisions, and how have those helped you when making difficult decisions? You want to start?
That's a pretty deep
It's
question.
a pretty deep question. That's what we do here. Anybody want to jump in?
Um, values are incredibly important in the workplace, in life in general, obviously. So, yeah, it's a deep question. I'm looking at Ethan because he and I have done some nonprofit work together and some corporate ministry work together for Christian values. So, um, regardless of what your personal values are, you need to know them and you need to believe in them. And I will say, for me personally, I am a very strong Christian with pretty traditional values. Um, I steered away from that during college. And believe it or not, it's actually one of my biggest regrets in life. Wow. Um, so being in the workplace, though, values, I wrote them down because this is so important. I hope you hear this. Values like honesty, integrity, compassion, maturity, humbleness. Those are values you need to have in a professional work environment. And then what's important to you, because that's what drives you every single day. You're going to spend more time with these people you work with. They say 9 to 5, but it's much longer than that, believe it or not. More awake time with these people than you do sometimes your own spouse or your own kids. So you need to decide who you are and be true to that so people know to come to you if you want to be somebody that they can come to. I would encourage you when it comes to values to plug into employee network groups. Typically, if you work for an employer that's large enough, they're going to have network groups for all types of employees that share values. And so when you are in a cohort of employees that shares similar values, it helps you get through the workday. It helps you remain more loyal to your employer. I actually run a nationwide employee network group called the Merrill Lynch Christian Focus Group from Tyler, Texas. And so I'd like to share just a few values that are true both from a Christian aspect and a professional aspect that have helped me personally. One is being slow to speak, and I don't mean speed, and quick to listen. In my early career, I was wanting to kind of interject a lot to think maybe if I speak up, people will notice me, people will value that. But something that CEOs and COOs do really well, which I'm seeing today, is they listen. They listen intently. So being slow to speak and quick to listen, serving one another in love. And I don't mean you have to be warm and fuzzy, but I mean that you put people on your team before your own ego. You care about the people you work with. Doing all things without complaining or arguing. No one wants to work in a toxic work environment. Do not be the source of toxicity in your work environment. Be the source of calm. Be the source of peace. Be the source of reason, stability. I hope you take that away. I mean, I hope you take a lot of things away, and that's part of my problem is I have so much I'd like to impart on you on the errors that I made throughout my career, but don't gossip. Don't be the source of toxicity in your work environment. It's just going to hold you back from excelling. And then for me, I've had a pretty big mind shift that personally, as a Christian, I feel like God has put me in the office that I sit in for a very specific purpose. Most days, I don't really know what that purpose is, but it's not really to invest clients' money in the stock market. He's given me that skill. Turns out I'm pretty good at that. But you know what? He's using me for a lot different and bigger reasons. And so, I do my work with excellence. I show up every day, and that passion helps prevent burnout and keeps me going. So that's a deep question, which is why I looked at you. Values, both professional and both personal, are incredibly important.
That was a great answer, and a great answer for everybody in the audience getting to hear that. Thank you. And you were very well prepared for it, I might add. Casey?
Yes. So a lot like Lisa, I'm a Christian as well. Relationship with Jesus Christ. And one of the reasons why I actually moved to the company that I'm at now is because core values are God, family, country. And we're very serious about that, God, family, country in that order. The first company that I was with had lip service about that. It was one of the reasons what drew me to the company that I was with. I won't say who it was, but you quickly find out that perception is not always reality, and so just use your knowledge and anyways, just trust your instinct, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm intertwined with my faith as well, and it's how I make all of my decisions. It's how me and my wife make, we make all of our family decisions, business decisions, things like that. One of the things that I learned in Professor Swinburger's class is active listening is just as important as speaking, and you learn that in sales pretty quickly. You can often talk yourself off of a sale or out of a sale. All you need to do is you need to go in there, be open-minded, learn about your client, listen to what they have to say, and, have solutions to their issues. You don't want to force a solution, anything like that. So just be active listener. As far as values for what I do, so whenever you think about insurance, a lot of people, you're not going to think about helping people, right? As a matter of fact, the public perception is insurance agents are the worst. I get it. I was the same way, but here's the deal. Excuse me. I would say it happened 2 months into my career, and it was completely pivotal on how I was looking at the insurance industry. So I was trying to find my way into the world. I interviewed for this position, well interviewed, got the position right away. Really excited, finished my last month of college, walked the stage on Saturday, walked into the office on Monday, sat behind my desk, and I was like, what now? I had no leads. I had no markets, no warm markets. I had no, referral networks, anything like that. Luckily for me, and kind of what Ethan was saying, wash dishes, things like that. It was really important for me as well because I didn't have that social network because the positions that I come from before, I didn't have to have that social network. And whenever I was in school, I was driving an hour to school. I was, staying here all day long, and I was driving an hour back. I had a family at home. I didn't really get to socialize a whole lot. And so I leaned into the people that I did know that were in the insurance, mortgage lenders, brokers, things like that. And I started there and I moved forward. So make the connections now. But what I was going to say is what changed my career early on in the second month was I remember I was sitting down with a client that I inherited in my book of business. And we were talking about life insurance, things like that. And we were going over home insurance. And she told me this is a really sad situation, but essentially her and her husband had just retired and 2 years prior, and they just paid, they were basing it off of their mortgage. So they had a 30-year mortgage. They paid their mortgage off after 30 years. They said, you know what? We've never filed an insurance claim on our home ever. And so we're just going to drop our insurance. And they did. And lightning struck their house 2 months later, and their house burned down completely. And so they lost everything that they had in that house. It was about a $500,000 house, and that was back in 2005. I mean, it was a really nice house. Um, at that moment, it clicked to me that what I do is extremely important. And that was my why going forward. And also, I've seen situations with life insurance, you lose a spouse, or you lose, the primary breadwinner of the house. And now, for example, my wife stays at home. I'm lucky enough, to be able to make that happen. And we have 3 beautiful kids. She does not have really any work experience anymore. She hasn't for the last 6 or 7 years since we've had kids. And so if she had to go get a job, if something happened to me today and she had to go get a job, she could probably get a job. Is she going to make enough to be able to provide for the house? Absolutely not, unless we make major cuts, right? And so that's where life insurance comes in. And I've seen that happen before. People do not believe in life insurance. I'm not going to get it. And then you don't get it, something happens, pray to God that that never happens, but if it does, you're well prepared. So these are things that I've seen early on in my career that really impacted. And so that's kind of my why. And, being a Christian, I try to intertwine all of those things. I do not make any decisions that I wouldn't make for myself or a family member. So whenever I sell a policy or I review a policy, I do it as if I'm talking to my family member. And that's just how I treat people. A lot of times, I'm going to be completely honest with you, I have probably lost more business than I've sold, and I've sold a lot of business, but I've probably lost as much business as I've sold because, if you have the right thing, then you have the right thing. I don't want to, take you away from that. So remember that. Always put your values at the forefront, whatever it is that you believe in. Make sure to lean on that because that's going to get you further and that's going to gain you more trust from your client base than anything that you could ever possibly say or do. So
Great points. Absolutely. Ethan?
Man, it's really hard to follow up on those two. Lisa, you crushed it talking about how values are so important. Casey, implementing, hey, this is like, I'm literally reviewing policies as if I or my family was getting it. That's huge. I think what I've been thinking about as I'm suing on it is you hear about the importance of values. Yes, you hear about like you can go to any company website and it says, "Oh, here's our values, integrity, and blah blah blah." That's not how they sound, but that's how they sound in my head, right? Values that you think that they align with, but it turns out they don't. Make sure whatever company you're working for actually means what they say. Are they really going to be people of integrity? Are they really going to be people of stewardship, service, whatever? Fill in the blank. Ask those questions in an interview. That's kind of a side tangent because who you work for is ultimately going to be a reflection of you. Fair? Okay. How you get values. If you don't know, if you're sitting here and you're like, Ethan, I'm like 19 years old. I have no idea what the heck a value is, or I don't know where to get one, or like, I think I have a value. I would highly encourage you. She's not in the room right now, but Gail Johnson has a Mana 3170 class called How to Get a Job. That's what it used to be called. And now it's about how do you interview well. She teaches you how to get a value. I wouldn't be sitting up here if I didn't take that class. Hard stop. For real, for real. I probably wouldn't be up here because if I didn't take that class. I would highly encourage you, if you sit up here, you're like, man, like all these things are resonating with me. How do I get there? Take that class. Who's taking that class right now? Raise your hand because I know some of you are going, yeah, okay. Okay, that's a big, big deal. If you haven't taken that course and you're like wrapping up your degree, stop what you're doing, cut the other elective, take that class. It's a big deal. I'm for real, for real. I'll put money on it, dude. She's got a great course that she puts out. If you can't take the course at the end of the day, John Beck's got a night course. I'm totally just selling a course right now. So she's not even in the room. I should get money from that. One other thing I want to say about values really quick. Do I have any HRD people in here? Human resources? One? Just you? You're a professor. Anyone else?
Tell us
Anyone
anyway.
at HRD?
They must be in class.
HRD major. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if you're HRD or not. Sometimes in an organization, you may be the first or the last person someone sees when they walk in the room. They may walk in for an interview and you just may be up front getting a water bottle. They may be walking down the hallway and it's the first time they're meeting you, or maybe the last time they're walking down those halls forever. If they're leaving, go to another organization. As you learn these values, keep that in mind with the people you work with, because I'm going to just piggyback what Lisa said. These are people that you're going to be working with day in and day out. You're going to be doing essentially life with these people to a degree. As weird as that sounds, that's the truth. Like I work with people that like I see every day. I know who they are. I know what they like. I know what they do. And I know how we work together. So keep that in mind as you get these values, as you start to learn who you are. If you haven't already, I didn't. I didn't learn who I was until after college, like until after I got a degree and started getting in the workforce. Like this was formative for me, yes, but like the experience is what really defines who you really are, who you really going to be. Because I could sit here all day. We could sit here all day and tell you about, you should be a person of integrity, but it's up to you whether or not you want to do it. It's up to you if you want to be that person or not. And yeah, find your value. It's important.
Very good. So I think we've heard that faith a lot of times can inform values, and that's so true. That's kind of my personal journey with values. They were instilled at a young age. My parents, the Christian church, all these things. And I'll give you kind of three that I've used over and over again that I feel like have led to success in my career and that have guided me. The first one is respect. Respecting your coworkers, respecting people around you, no matter their position or status. Respect in the workplace, because what you'll see when you enter the job market, you'll see people that are disrespectful and towards you, towards coworkers. And let me tell you, leadership's not going to look on that and say, hey, this is our next guy or girl. This is it. They're not going to do that. It's people that can bring people together and respect one another. Those are the people that they're going to look for to promote. It's the people that are respecting others, that are bringing teams together, creating cohesion in those teams, and that starts with respect. The other one is in integrity. It's what are you doing when nobody's looking? Can you get by with cutting corners? Maybe not. In the long run, you can't. You can't. If you want to succeed, if you want to be a high performer, you're going to have integrity, meaning in your work, in your communication, in everything you do, it needs to be good. You don't need to walk away from a project saying, you know what, I cut a lot of corners and I could have done better. You want to take pride in that. You want to be honest with people. You want to be honest in your work. So be a person of integrity. And here's something else about integrity. Honesty and integrity, they're kind of tied together there. But when you have integrity, you don't have to lie to cover up a lie, or you don't have to make BS excuses for why you didn't do something. Just have integrity. Be honest. It'll pay off for sure. And then the last one is serving others, having this attitude of servanthood. It's when you hear the buzzword servant leadership a lot, but if you really double click in there and you live that attitude, it's so valuable. Like, I love serving others. Like, it brings me joy, right? So like after this is an example when I was young, because I've always loved this. But like when maybe a church event was wrapping up, I would love to stay and put up the chairs, put up the table, vacuum the floors, whatever it was, just serving people. And I put this to the test with one of my former bosses. He was preaching this to me. He was my mentor. And he said, he was talking to me about servant leadership and really serving others, leading by example. And he said, is there anything that I can help you with today? And I said, actually, there is, Ramon. I have we were at an O'Reilly store, and he was the regional manager. He's pretty high up, over 1,500, 2,000 employees, $100 million in annual sales. So it's a pretty big position. I was the district manager, and I said, and part of our culture at O'Reilly's was expense control. Charlie O'Reilly was one of the founding family members, and he said, if you watch your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. So expense control was a huge piece of that. And I said, you know what? I'm trying to live our culture, Ramon, with expense control, and you've really taught me a lot about some good leadership principles today. I said, could you help me save some money and help me change the wax ring on the toilet in the bathroom to save some money? And he was like, absolutely. So you've got these district manager and a regional manager in the bathroom at a retail store, mind you, changing the wax ring in the toilet to save a couple $100. Now, is it feasible to do that all the time? No, but I was putting him to the test, putting myself to the test. Do we really care about serving others? Do we really care about, doing things that might be considered beneath us? And we did, and that's where I learned a lot of those. So anyway, those are three core values. There's of course we all have, I have more than that, but those were the three practical examples I wanted to share with you that really helped guide me in my career.
Fantastic. So as we look out in the audience, we are literally looking at the next generation of working professionals. So I guess I could pivot and ask, what do you notice, if anything, that distinguishes the next generation of young professionals from the previous generation? Who wants to jump first? Our way.
All right. Yeah, okay. So I do have something good. I really thought about this one, and this is something that I've certainly seen, especially since especially since November 2022. Does anybody know what happened in November of 2022? November 2022. Anybody? They released Chat GPT. That's right. I can't believe y'all don't know the date. It's like, well, we just use it. We don't know when it was released. So here's what I'll say is this generation has more access to information, instant access to information and problem solving aids than any previous generation did. Okay. There's good and bad with that. The bad is that it is a proxy now. It takes the place of critical thinking skills and problem solving skills if you're not careful. Now, it can supercharge those skills, your inherent critical thinking and problem solving skills. It can supercharge those. But the problem is the younger generation isn't focusing on first the critical thinking and problem solving without those tools, because that's foundational to your career is the ability to think on the fly. I remember getting in an argument with somebody, and I made a point in my argument, and he said, "Oh man, if I was able to Google something right now, I'd have you." I'm like, what in the world? But that's kind of how we approach it. So this is what I would say to you all: is use those tools, but you have to think about this original, genuine solution yourself first. Problem solve yourself first. Okay. Critically think about it first, because something, and I've been reading some articles on some business articles about what is the industry seeing, what is business seeing from these tools, and they're seeing a lot of AI slop, a lot of filler words, because ChatGPT is really good at writing stuff and doing stuff, but if you really examine the content of just putting a prompt in and you get what you get back. I mean, there's just a lot of nonsense. And at the executive level, I can't read a report that's 2 pages long and what the content of that could have been in 2 sentences to tell me what I needed to know. And let me tell you, your supervisors, your managers are going to value concise, succinct communication. Okay? And I guess you could adjust the prompt, make this succinct, concise. But don't let the tools use you. Have original thoughts, focus on critical thinking and problem solving, and I promise you that's going to take you really far in your career. Use ChatGPT to supercharge those things, but don't let it take the place of those things.
Anybody else want to have a go?
I have 2 different answers. My first one is a lot like Caleb, technology. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm 33 years old, but since I had my first kid 5 years ago, I feel like I'm 33 in dog years. So I'm on Facebook, and apparently I found out about a month ago that I'm old because I use Facebook instead of Snapchat and Instagram, and so I'm that old guy. I'm an old 33, but I would say a lot like Caleb was saying, ChatGPT, having the ability to use technology that wasn't really available whenever we were growing up. So Google was a big thing. I still use Google all the time. I know a lot of people that, only use ChatGPT. It's not a bad thing, but do not let your creativity and originality take a backseat for ChatGPT. I use it now, like as an idea generating tool, kind of like a brainstorming tool. and it really helps me. I also use it on a sales platform where if I'm going to go out and make cold calls, I will ask ChatGPT to put in 20 businesses within a 10-mile radius of such location, include the address, include phone numbers, the owner's name if there is one. And my gosh, I mean, it's amazing. I did it last night again, and now tomorrow I'm going to go out, cold calling, and I have 20 lists of names that I would have had to go through and manually research. It's incredible. So use it as a tool. Don't let it overtake all of your thinking. But also, I would say from the younger generation as an age, maybe I'm off here, but one of the things that I've noticed with my nieces and nephews and younger cousins and things like that is you have the ability and the gift of like empathy. Whereas I feel like even our age, there wasn't as much empathy as there was in the world. I feel like there's a lot of love that's coming through and forgiveness and things like that. So don't minimize that. Keep that going in your heart. Make sure to love people, take care of people, because people will ultimately love and take care of you back if you treat them with respect. So just short and sweet.
Anybody else or want to switch topics? On the internet topic, has anyone ever been to Yellowstone? It's probably the most beautiful place in the world. Okay, I see a couple of hands. Before you go, realize that you probably won't get the internet up there. And as you're driving through with your family and questions are asked, it's good to have some of those answers up in your mind. Because if you're at a job interview where you can't, someone asks you a question, oh, well, I don't know, let me Google it. Do you think you're going to get hired? Nah, probably not. So whether for an interview or driving around the most beautiful place in the world, it's good to grow some of this knowledge yourself. Switching over to mentors, I heard mentors being, I think Caleb mentioned mentors. Do y'all have mentors, and how might you give advice on how students should pick mentors?
Yeah. I have had mentors, but it wasn't anything formal or official where I went and said, I need a mentor. I've watched you and I'm inspired by you. So will you please be my mentor? As I was thinking about mentorship, really what came to mind was former supervisors and bosses and people that I worked with that had been there longer or that were higher than me. And I quietly observe them. What do they do? How do they respond? What are their answers to hard questions when Google isn't available? Um, what do they wear to the office? I emulate them. And even if people don't know they're mentoring me, they are. So long story short, pick somebody to be your mentor, gravitate towards them, ask them, hey, I saw this on that email. Would you mind explaining that to me? Would you teach me? And before you know it, you build a relationship with somebody that starts volunteering information to you and volunteering help to you. And so a couple of my mentors have been former supervisors or bosses that were very hard on me and held me to an extremely high standard. And I mean, to the point where I would go home in tears, feeling frustrated that I'm not good enough, or man, you're being hard on me, or, I'm doing my best here. And I just can't express to you now, years later, how grateful I am for the bar that was set so high and for the lessons I learned. And it really, really helped me because I could have gone home feeling defeated. But what I did was I turned around and I came back the next day and I did what they suggested. I acted this way, I answered this, I researched this, I leaned into this. So a mentor does not have to be something formal. It can be somebody that you gravitate towards at work and that you create an organic relationship with.
Fantastic. I love the advice of a mentor may not be the warm and fuzzy person. My dad once told me to, you pick your friends, don't let your friends pick you, which from a picking mentor perspective, you want to speak?
Yeah, sure. To hit on to that point real quick, you are who you surround yourself. The five closest people to you is pretty much who you're either going to be or who you are. So to add on to that, that's very true. I found that in my life as well. I have a lot of mentors. I have too many to count, to be honest with you. But I would say the first person in my life was a spiritual mentor, was my youth pastor, and he was the first person besides my wife that I can say that I don't know why, but he just saw something in me different than everyone else. I feel like whenever I was a young kid, I was one of those kids that, just being honest with you, I was on the path to destruction. I was, bound for jail and things like that. So, I mean, I was getting into a lot of trouble whenever I was a kid. I don't know why Jason is this guy's name, but he saw something in me that was different and he believed in me. And to this day, it still makes an impact to me, and that's 25 years later. But he's a mentor to me. My dad is a mentor. Like I said, I'm a generation graduate from college. My dad was a very hard worker. He's a very smart man. He's not very book smart, because he just isn't. But he's one of the hardest workers that I've ever known. I had the gift of seeing that growing up, and he taught me work ethic. And it wasn't because he would, say, "Hey, you need to do this to be a hard worker." It was by visualization. And so he's a mentor for me as well. I would say my father-in-law is a big mentor. He was actually in the banking industry, and he was one of the reasons why I was going to go into that industry before insurance. And yeah, I mean, he taught me a lot of things about life, about business, but also about marriage, things like that. So again, it matters who you marry. It also matters who your in-laws are. So just keep that in mind. It's true. And so mentors, bosses as well. The owner of our brokerage that I work for, Rollo Insurance, Jason Rollo, he's a great man. He's poured into me a lot. He's also one of those people that gave me an opportunity, just because he saw the way that my work ethic and my workability and things like that. He really believed in me, and he sought after me. I didn't have to seek after him, which was a blessing. Especially now that I look back, man, I turned that blessing down 3 times, and looking back now, I'm like, what a moron. But thankfully he believed in me enough to keep coming back. But also the president of our company, his name is Jackson Rollo, and he's the oldest kid of Jason. And he was someone, I'm going to be honest with you, he was someone that the reason why I turned down the job that I did 3 times, because he's younger than I am. And, that's been a hurdle and obstacle that I've overcome, because I would say for the success that I have, and probably you guys too, um, I'm young. I mean, I'm way younger than a lot of people that are in my position. So I'll walk into a room and I'm usually not the smartest person in the room, and I'm usually the youngest person in the room. But I think that that's a blessing as well. Always be willing to learn, but I almost turned down that job because of that. And I'm not kidding you. This guy could be the CEO and president of Apple. That's how good he is. But I didn't know at the time because I didn't give him the time of day. He's incredible. He's a mentor of mine as well. I guess the reason I'm saying that is because your mentors do not have to be older than you. They can be younger than you. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Um, yeah, I guess that's
Ethan?
Casey, I'm going to go ahead and beat you to the punch here. I'm actually the youngest guy up here. I'm 28, which is kind of wild. So you are no longer the young guy in the room. Round of applause for Casey. Yay. Just kidding. That was a separate applause. Yeah, 33. My bad. Dog ears. Yeah, Lisa, you basically stole my thunder. I was going to say all those things. But yeah, your mentor is probably the best relationships I've had with people, are people that are going to be genuine. Anytime you try to set up a mentorship, it's like very formal, like, let's like you be my mentor for 6 months. Usually that kind of works out, but like let it like have a natural progression of things. And exactly what Lisa said, all of my mentors have been in the workplace. They've been my supervisors, or they've been other department managers that were like, hey, let me show you this thing, how we do it, or hey, this is how this process is done. And that's how I learned and developed different skill sets and got to move in different parts of the industry, whether that was with Mercy Ships or Jasper. It's a big, big deal. You touched on something as well about, you being first gen graduate. I didn't really have a great home life. My parents got divorced when I was 11. My dad wasn't really around. So I didn't really have a strong father presence in my household. So, I came to, it's so funny we're talking about faith up here. I actually started going to church when I was 15, came to faith, and a buddy of mine invited me to church and all that good stuff. But his parents basically took me in and like, hey, we'll teach you. We'll basically like raised me more or less. And it's so important. I know there's some people in here who had like, the traditional like home life. You did the thing, like you grew up in a great household and all that good stuff. There's probably some people in this room who did not have that lifestyle. They did not have that life. I empathize with that. I feel you. Um, Find people, surround yourself with people who love you, who care about you, who want what's best for you, even when what's best for you is really hard. I did not want to go to college. I did not want to work hard. I did not want to do these things because that was what I lived with. That's what I knew. I didn't want to do those things because, oh, it's what my parents did, or, oh, this is what the environment I grew up in. That's not for all of us. You're bigger than that. I'm bigger than that. We are more than that. We are bigger than the hardships that we face. And it's imperative that you have a mentor if you don't have one. If you haven't had one, find one, get one. There are plenty of professors here. I'm sure you could be your mentor. I mean, most of these cats I know, and they're awesome. And just highly encourage you, man. If you don't have a mentor, get one. It's very important. I probably overshared a little bit, but
Oh, thank you very much.
regrets.
No regrets.
So Ethan said, find one, get one. And here's maybe a practical way you can go about that is just ask. Just ask. I'm a mentor to a couple people that just asked. And this is what I would say. If you ask somebody, I would like, kind of like Lisa said, I wouldn't make it this formal 6-month mentorship plan that ChatGPT came up with. But what I would say is just ask a professor or somebody in the industry a question that you're wanting to know. That's a good question. Don't ask like a dumb question, and I'll clarify that in a minute. But yeah, just ask a question, and then and they'll probably answer, because I know I like when people ask me questions, like a methodical question, and I love giving feedback, because again, I like serving others, I like contributing. But I would say if you find that person that responds back, don't abuse the relationship. And what I mean by that is this: do your homework first. Think about the problem that you're going to ask them about, or the situation that you want some mentorship on, and put some thought into it first. Don't go in there without having thought deeply about what you're wanting that mentor to respond back to you with. So don't abuse that. Put some thought into it and say, hey, could you help me with this problem? What should I do in this situation? Here are some ideas that I thought, and here's some maybe forecasted impacts of those decisions. What are your thoughts on it? So, but yeah, I would say just ask.
Fantastic. Well, Brian now tells me that we are at the question and answer portion. So first of all, let's give our panelists a huge round of applause. Thank you all. So I'm going to stop asking questions now and raise your hand.
Hello, my name is Jamie Rooks. I am a marketing major. I'm a junior. Okay, so I've been writing down questions, listening to everything everyone's been saying. So I have 2 questions I want to blend into one, and it's because Ethan had a great point. So starting off with that is just doing it hard. So like, what is some things that you felt like you had to make a hard decision? I recently just quit my job to start my own business. That was hard, but I know it's going to be the right thing. And then also, if you could go back, what is the mindset and habits you'll start like cultivating at right now being a college student? I think that will help all of us.
All right. I'm gonna let y'all take the something hard, but I'm gonna put my financial advisor hat on for you for a second, okay? So if I could go back, I'm 36. How old was I when I don't know, do the math, 15 years. One, you're about to get a job and make more money than you've probably ever made in your life. Okay. So you have a choice. You can Adjust your lifestyle and spend all the money you're going to start making, or keep your lifestyle about the same or reduce probably, and start saving and investing. The earlier you do that, the more you will thank yourself in 10, 15, 20, 30 years. You will set yourself up for success. When you get a job, could you go out and get a brand new car with a $1,500 car payment? You could, right? Or could you drive that car several more years and save 1,500 bucks in an investment account? Yes. So I want you to focus on that as you shift from college to career, and make sure your lifestyle doesn't creep up as you start getting a new job and getting raises. That's the financial advisor answer for you. And I hope that that's helpful, but I'll let them answer something hard. But congrats on starting your own business. We're all really excited for you.
What small business are you starting? Okay. Right on. If you didn't hear him, multimedia design. Right on. An answer doing hard things like when you don't want to do them. So I was a junior here or a senior. It took me 5 years to get my degree, by the way. So not really fun, but you got to do what you got to do. I was working full time at Mercy. I was living in a duplex. My wife and I were married probably 2 to 3 years at this point. I took a Maymester course of statistics one. Mind you, I failed statistics 3 times at this university. If you cannot tell, I hate math. I think it's stupid. Anyways, give me people. Anyways, hot take. So I was sitting at my dining room table taking this Maymester course, working full time, married. I had plans that night. I had to cancel those plans because I was, every, course, every time that we met, we were taking a quiz or a test. So I was studying for that. I remember sitting at the table, I started crying. I was so angry because I was just like, I just want to quit. I'm putting too much on my plate. This is stupid. This is like, is this even worth it? Like questioning all all those things running through my head. And my wife, going back, we've talked about it, marrying somebody that will push you because they love you is very important. Hot take. She sat there and was like, I know this is difficult. I know you failed this class twice. You may fail it again. I don't know. But you know what? And that was really hurtful when she said that. This is your chance now. You may not have another opportunity. Something may come up. There's a million things that could happen between now and then. But for you to get your degree is so important because you were literally on the cusp of getting it. Finish well, do this right. And then she went to go hang out with our friends without me. Crushing story. Anyways, my point is that I passed statistics, praise God. But also there's going to be some things that you do, whether it's in the workplace or here at school, where you're going to be pushed to that very edge of the line where you're like, I don't think I can do this. I think I'm ready to walk away. I think I'm ready to call it quits. Do not do that. That is the point in time that is so pivotal. I cannot even begin to tell you. If I walked away from that moment, I wouldn't be up here. I wouldn't be degreed. I'd probably still be washing dishes somewhere. Push yourself even to that 101% and do it because it's so important. And another thing I think about, sorry if I'm going too long here, we've had to do layoffs. We're an oil and gas company. It's just the nature of our work. We have work that comes in for welders, pipe fitters, for assembly guys. I love these guys. I know these guys. I go out to the field and I see them. And oil and gas is very tumultuous. It's high highs and low lows. And 2 years ago, we had to lay off about 40% of our workforce. And I was the one doing it. I'm HR. I'm the one giving these guys letters. In that same line of thought, when I got there at 6 a.m., I don't want to do this. This is hard. This is not what I signed up for. It is necessary for you, for them, for me. Do hard things because it will build you up and you will look back and you're like, man, I'm so glad I did that because now I can know I can push myself to that limit. I can go that distance. I thought the line was here, but I can actually go farther out. I'm not saying you should burn out. That is not what I'm saying. Don't mix that up. Don't work 60 hours a week and burn yourself out. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when hard stuff happens, when hardship comes up, you push through, man. You have people that find people that can surround you and love on you during that, but can encourage you to push through. Does that make sense? Y'all tracking with that? Okay, good. Sorry, hot take.
That's good. Was it Jamie? Jamie. Okay. Awesome outfit, by the way. You look good. So I don't know if I have a whole lot to add here, but what I will tell you is I would say one of the hardest times of my life. So me and my wife were high school sweethearts. We've been together for 15 years. We've been married for 11. And I've brought her up. I've talked about her, but um, I would say that I went to the oil and gas industry right out of college. So, was working in the oil and gas industry for about 3 years. Same situation, layoffs, severance package, the whole deal. And I didn't know where to go. I mean, at this point, I purchased a house, had a truck payment, was married. I pretty much had started my life, right? So I had a pretty decent house. It was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, in-ground pool. I mean, as a 21-year-old, you're thinking, man, this is the life. This is amazing. And it was awesome. But I'm not going to lie to you. But my wife always told me you're destined for more. And I was like, I don't know what that means. What is I feel like we're doing pretty good. And, we wanted kids. That was a really tough decision for us. We had to put kids on the back burner for a few years because she always told me that I was going to go back to school. So I was going to quit my job. Thought she was crazy because again, we'd, bought a house, had a truck payment. I bought a boat. I had a motorcycle. I had all the things, right? I'm thinking, how can my life get any better? And so, I had to literally sell everything. So this was a very humbling moment for me. And this is where hard decisions come into play. So I remember at one point, me and my wife worked together at Walmart warehouse, a distribution center. And I was a manager, she was a manager, and we were making decent money. Not as much as I was making in the oil field, but we were making decent money. We got to work on the same shift. We were connected. So we saw each other at work and outside of work. It was great. Um, but we both hated our jobs immensely. I mean, like we hated our job. And so I remember like it was yesterday, we took breaks together. We were on, separate, we worked it out to where we were able to have lunch together. Um, and she walked in and she said, this is it. This is the moment right here that you're quitting your job, go sign up for classes tomorrow. And we're selling everything. I don't care what we have to do, but we're going to make it happen. I thought, oh, well, here we go. We talked about it several times. She was serious. And so she drove me to the admission office because she was like, this is it. Like, this is your moment. And so, very humbling moment for me. Here I am. I was 24 years old at the time. I had to sell my house. I had to sell my truck. I bought just a very economical Toyota Corolla, paid cash for it, sold my motorcycle, sold my boat, quit my job, moved in with my in-laws, that's the humbling part, right? Yeah. So, um, but anyways, hard sacrifices, I guess is what I'm saying. I took 15 steps back to take 100 steps forward. Now, taking the steps back were really tough, but my wife saw vision. She believed in me more than I did. She saw vision. I was believing in her, trusting in her, and I'm so thankful for her because her vision has come to life, right? And so that was very hard. I guess to ask your question, do whatever it takes within your boundaries, right? Of don't give up your values or beliefs or anything like that, but do what it takes to succeed. For me, what I'm doing at the moment, I do not have, I'm just going to be honest with you. You don't have to be a college graduate. You don't. But the things that I learned in school, the reason I was going to say this about Dean Schwimberger is the reason why I transitioned from banking into insurance into sales is because of the personal selling 101 class that I took my very last semester here. We got about halfway through that class and I thought, man, this is something that I enjoy. This is really nice. And that's why I decided to take that, to take that leap. So hard decisions, if it's going to push you forward and it's not going to, be detrimental to your health, your physical health, your mental health, things like that, take that leap. Lean on your mentors, lean on the people that love and trust you. If you don't have a mentor, I'm going to go out on a limb to say any of us would love to be a mentor for you. We'd love to give you any kind of advice, anything that we've gone through. So, anyways, but that's, I guess, sorry, I'm long winded on that, but I'm very passionate about that. That's a great question, by the way. And congrats on starting a business. If anybody in this room can start a business, start a business.
Yeah, and something I would say about the mindset you asked about is get in the mindset of other founders. Read biographies, listen to podcasts. You've got some greats. James Dyson's autobiographies, awesome. Steve Jobs, Michael Dell. Get in the head of the greats, people that are hyper successful, and that's going to help set your mindset to be successful starting your own business.
Fantastic. Other questions? Gonna make Brian run a little bit.
Hello, my name is Axel Mundo, and this is more of like a personal question for you guys. Um, if you had the chance to keep on growing, is there something that's stopping you from taking those bigger positions? Is there like a stopping point in your life that you guys just won't cross for certain reasons?
Hey, Zach, deep question. Good question. Um, Multi ways that we could answer that. One, I think, is if something goes against my values, then I'm not going to cross that line. Plain and simple, very easy. Look, I work with clients that have anywhere from $500,000 to $150 million. What I want to tell you is this: money does not buy happiness, folks. Money does not buy happiness. I do not care. Maybe it could make life a little bit easier, but I would recommend not chasing money at the sacrifice of your values or your family. So I draw some pretty hard boundaries. I have a successful career from 8 to 5. And occasionally I might take a late night meeting, very, very rarely, once or twice a year. But my husband, my kids, my family will always come first. So that's a line that I draw. I venture to say these three gentlemen would do the same.
That's a great question as well. I don't know if I've got some advice here. I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this. And the reason why I say that is I'm self-employed. Okay. So I make my own schedule. Um, it's a luxury. I'll be honest with you because I don't work on the weekends. Kind of like Lisa's saying, she's got banker's hours, so she's pretty much self-employed. Um, but no, anyways. But in all seriousness, I would say for me, how do I answer this? Be where your feet are, and what I mean by that, like with progressing things like that, I would say at this very moment, no. But I would have told you that 6 or 7 years ago as well, because I was very comfortable with where I was. I'm very comfortable where I am now. And so I am, whenever it comes to like, I'm a creature of nature. I'm sure a creature of habit, like a lot of people. Whenever I get comfortable, I'm okay. Right. You know, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, security, things like that. I'm sure y'all have learned about that, but I love comfort. And so be where your feet are. And what I mean by that is right now, being self-employed in the position that I'm in, I never have to miss anything that my kids do. You know, my wife gets to stay home. I've said that. They go to co-op on Mondays, which is kind of like homeschool school. And I get to, go home every day for lunch. I get to hear about, what they've learned and the new friends that they've made, all of that stuff. I never have to miss any of that stuff. So where I am now, probably not in the future. I don't know, because that's where I'd have to lean on my support group, like my wife and family and people that I really trust. So that's why the mentorship is very important. People that know you the best, they're going to call you out. Like Ethan was saying, be willing to have those hard conversations. And so I don't know. I mean, right now, probably not, because I can't personally see in a better situation for myself at this time coming available. But I'm always willing to listen, right? So that's what I would say about that.
I think the temptation is, um, and maybe this is just me, maybe I'm just the only one in the room that feels this way, but I want to be master of all things and I want to do all things. And you literally have ChatGPT that can tell you that. You have mentors that can tell you that. You have all these different things that are telling you, yeah, you can master any craft at any time. And while that is true, there are certain skills and abilities that you have that are different than mine. Your skill set is going to be different than my skill set. Um, and so I'm answering your question in the sense of like, there are some things that I could think I want to do, but I can't do. For example, I wanted to be a radio show host. Couldn't do that because the radio was dying. No offense to anyone who listens to the radio. I wanted to play in band. I was a terrible percussionist. Okay. My dad was a heavy metal drummer, still is crazy. Anyways, I couldn't, as much as I would want to try, I could get better. I could do those things, but those weren't in my inherent gifts that I've got. My gifts are people. My gifts are not numbers. My gifts are people. My gift isn't looking at spreadsheets. My gift is seeking the needs of my employees. Therefore, I could do something different. I could be chief information officer and work at a, you know, company that's delving into technology and whatnot, but I wouldn't be good at that. It's not my skill set. Just because I could doesn't mean I should. So using discernment, using people that are around you that says, hey, they know who you are. They know you way better than I know you because I'm way over here. So like use those people that can say, like ask those people, like, what am I good at? Like, no, really, like, what am I good at? Like, what do you see that I'm good at? Is it numbers? Is it people? Is it talking? Is it in the back room somewhere, like doing data analytics? I don't know. But finding, again, going back to values here, find what you're good at. And I think that'll lead you in the right direction. You don't have to do all things. I think it's a temptation that we fall under is that we can't, and that's okay. Yeah, stick with what you're good at. And of course, grow and stretch and whatnot, but don't do something that's way out of left field. Does that make sense? Right on.
Yeah, so I think as you make the decision to grow, Lisa said it best. You know, you have to evaluate the impact of those decisions on your mental health, your family health, your relationships, and is that trade-off worth it? If you look at hyper successful people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, they all have very successful relationships, don't they? No, they do not. So you so you have to say, okay, is this growth going to be worth it, and is the impact it's going to have on all these various things worth it? So that's kind of how I make the decision for myself.
How are we on time,
I
Brian?
think we're going to cut it there. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to give a huge thank you to Dr. Kevin James. If we can give him a round of applause for moderating today. And then another great round of applause for our 4 panelists. Thank you guys for being here. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and close out. If you guys want to, you can hang out in here, meet the panelists, come up, shake their hands. Also in the lobby area outside of 180 here, we also have some treats for you guys to grab on your way out. There's a little info table as well as some cookies and water bottles and things like that. So if you guys need to go, if you want it, grab it there. Otherwise, you guys are good to go. Thank you guys for being here today.